Here we go. We are live, Lorenzo. Hey,
Hey Alex.
thanks. Thanks to be here with me in this show, in this live stream. We're gonna talk about no code. We're gonna talk about networking event, remote networking event. You to learn how to make networking event for your community members. So Lorenzo, thanks to be there. You used to work at the family. You were there to build an amazing remote event. You are the creator of the host, the manager. You will share with us what do you do at the family with the Be My Cofounder program. You will explain what is it, and maybe you can share with us some insight about you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for inviting me. So a quick background about me. I was originally at the family to sort out the candidates that were applying to the family. But I stayed there for 3 years and a half, and the company grew and then scaled back down a little bit also towards the end. So I pretty much did every job imaginable, but most of it was no code operation, let's say. Initially, just to sort out our candidates pipeline, but then as sort of COVID happened and everything moved online, I started managing more of the also operations, including the events, because we at the family we were a really big on sort of events, physical events, for 5 years, so even more, 6 years, in the Paris scene, then Berlin, then London, and we had big offices where we would host big events, 150 people. We could go up to 200 people in Paris. We had an events team, and all this. And of course, the day COVID happened, we were the first to close down because we had people from all over Europe coming to our events. So even before sort of the government ordered us to shut down, we had shut down. We didn't want to take the risk. And so obviously this caused a lot of changes in our team. And one of those changes was that sort of I became sort of events manager, even though I had never hosted an event or never done anything related to events. And we had to reinvent sort of our entire event schedule and the event formats because we couldn't just carry over what we had. Well, we actually did carry over, we had events planned a month in advance. So we started off by doing those events online. Then we realized we had to sort of reinvent every format. And it's actually one of the first ideas that we had was to do Be My Cofounder. We were just thinking people are going to stay home. People are going to have time. A lot of people, in especially in France, but I think all over Europe, there was this program run by the government where you were paid by the government for not working, for not going to work. And so there was a bunch of people who had time and nothing to do, and maybe we thought could want to start something. And so we said, all right, how can we make those people meet each other without meeting physically? And we already had sort of a European community of entrepreneurs that we could reach. And so helping people meet co-founders was sort of the first idea that we had. And I'll tell you more about it, but let's just say it took us a lot of iterations. But then I think we found a model that works sort of reliably. To be fully transparent, I've left the family since then. I'm now working for On Deck, which is an American company, and I'm not touching events at all at On Deck. But On Deck is an online community that actually grew super fast thanks to COVID, in the sense that we make education programs remotely. So it got very popular very quickly. And so there's also some learnings I've had there from just attending the events that we put on. But I don't run events anymore.
Okay. And just before to deep dive a little bit in Be My Cofounder program, the time you launch the Be My Cofounder program, we have to remind that we are in the middle of the lockdown in France. indeed you have a lot of attention in front of the screens. There are a lot of people at home, but it was a time of webinars. I remind that there's so much webinars, passive.
Everyone was hosting a webinar.
Yeah, no, I launched a newsletter to curate webinars. There's so much webinars, but remote networking events were so rare. And still 1 year after, I desperately look to this kind of event. Speed dating is much more on the B2C approach. You can find a lot of networking and speed dating event on Eventbrite, but in the B2B world, networking events are so powerful but so rare. And when you launch that with the family, it was immediately a quick success. And so basically, it's 4 hours where co-founders can meet each other.
Yeah. So I mean, the premise was let's put people who have time and the willingness to build in a virtual space, and let's get them to meet each other one-to-one. Initially, we also wanted to do group sessions. I think the first event I was just looking, the first event was March 28th of 2020.
Yeah.
So I think like COVID started, like we were locked down. I think the first lockdown was early March. So this was 2-3 weeks into the first lockdown. And so initially the event was split into 2 parts. One was speed dating and one was group work. The idea being that you wanted to create groups of 3 to 8 people around a particular industry. We also tried somebody pitches an idea and the others give feedback, because we saw that some people came with ideas and some people just came to get inspired. And the way we tried to do that was by asking questions on when people signed up, and try to narrow it down and then build sort of custom groups. The initial events, we had somewhere between 30 and 50 people. So we could do these groups sort of manually and try to match people manually. But I think there were 2 main problems with this. One is events platforms weren't sort of as sophisticated as they are now. I think over the past year and a half, like I was just checking. So we hosted this on Hopin, and I left the family a month ago, and I just went back to Hopin, and the backend has been completely redesigned. So like they're moving super fast, these platforms. And back then, on one side, these platforms weren't as intuitive to use, as simple, more buggy, etc. And on the other side, I think also people weren't used to coming to online events and were discovering these platforms. And so like I think that format of having groups and having people move around rooms and go find their group and participate in groups wasn't super easy to use. Like we got a lot of feedback saying that it was too complicated to understand. And the other thing I think is also like working as a group requires like very precise matching. And requires
run tables.
And we couldn't get that precision, or at least we couldn't get sort of everyone to be in a group. We had some groups that worked really well. Like we had examples of 2. I think in total, I think we did the group thing on the first 3 editions of Be My Cofounder. This became a monthly thing since March, and it's still running. I passed it off to someone else, but it's so we're at the 13th edition right now. And yeah, so I passed it on to someone else, but when I was running it, the first 3 we tried groups, and I think there must have been like 25 groups in total, and in those 25 there was like 3 or 4 groups that did some real work, and like advanced on their ideas and gave good feedback, but the rest, it was a bit dead, and people were consistently saying that meeting people one-on-one was their favorite part of the event. Even if they had a good group session, they still preferred meeting people. And so we said, all right, let's focus on this, and let's also make it shorter. So initially, I think there were running. So it was Saturday morning from 9:45 a.m. I think, like 9:45 start time, but the event would actually start at 10, and it would run until 4 p.m. So like a good 6 hours straight. We also tried we tried having a lunch break, like a quick break in the middle, like 45 minutes, and then half of the people came back afterwards. So we killed that quite easily, quite quickly. But yeah, no. So we tried. We said, all right, let's put a bit more one-on-one, but also make the event shorter and build the groups. And that's when like we had sort of a switch, and it made it easier for us to organize. Because I was so my CEO Alice was running sort of the events, presenting, and I was in the background just moving things around, helping people, doing customer support and everything at the same time. And it was very stressful for me. And it went from being super stressful and the results being average to being quite easy for me to organize, and the results being much better, and the feedbacks being much better. So that was sort of the breakthrough that we had. And
yes,
and
the
then,
chat roulette.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, like there is no matching, nothing. It's you're putting people who have a willingness to build and time and skills. Like, of course, when you're the family and you're addressing people, you're already addressing the subset of the population. We're already sort of in our little bubble, and so it was. It's just serendipity, and this is the main thing that was sort of our DNA of our events when we did them physically and that we translated online, is letting the randomness of being in a space together take its course and see what happens. At our physical events, we used to do this thing at every single event, and it was sort of our signature moments. And it was at the beginning of the events, we would ask everyone to say hello to the person to their left and to their right and have a quick chat, and just no matter where you were sitting, you were meeting someone. I mean, people came in groups, but more if you came with a friend, so we were forcing you to just say hello to someone and see where that takes you and give you 5 minutes to have the conversation.
Kind of icebreaker.
Exactly, and like networking was a big part of our events. And so when we moved it online, when we tweaked the format, we realized that we didn't need to make it super complex for it to work. We just needed to narrow down the persona of people who were coming, so that they were interested by the same field, they were in a similar moment in their lives even, and then give them a little sort of icebreaker. So what we found with Be My Cofounder was rock, paper, scissors. So they would just play a game of rock, paper, scissors. And
I remember.
We had feedback of people saying like, oh, people don't actually play, and like the goal wasn't for everyone to play, and we didn't keep score. That wasn't it. It was just for people who are shy, or conversations where nobody wants to speak first, all that. So you just start, what you're doing, you do rock, paper, scissors, and the winner starts speaking. And that was just like a tiny little thing that we didn't need any tech to do or anything in particular to make it happen. And then 15 minutes, we tried 5, we tried 7, we tried 25. And 15 is like enough for this. I think for regular networking, it's too long. But here the goal was, okay, you meet someone and you decide if you want to take the conversation further. And both people have probably their projects, their ideas. So you want people to have enough time to speak about their lives for 5-7 minutes. And so 15 is like the good moment where, like, if the conversation is going well, you can tell it's going well. And have enough information so that you want to continue it. But if it's not going well, you're not stuck with someone that you find boring for the next 20-25 minutes. So 15 was sort of the sweet spot. And once we narrowed that down, so the format was clear and the feedback was unanimous. Like, I mean, we were getting, I'm looking at the averages. Like, we used to be on 3.5, 3.8, 4.1, and we switched the model, and immediately we never went under 4.2. We went to 4.5 out of 5 on like average rates for the feedbacks. So like
conversation doing well, working well.
Yeah, exactly. And so we did it so super intense, short and intense, because we didn't want people. I mean, we're taking time on the Saturday, and people were locked inside, but they didn't want to spend the whole of Saturday on stuck to their screen. But we wanted them to meet enough people. So I think I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I think it's like now it's like 2.5 hours of speed meetings, and so you're meeting about like 12 people, and then we also give you access to, and I'll show this in the setup a bit later, but we use the Airtable and sort of public views so that we give access to everyone who came to the event. So if you met 12 people, but you want to meet, we generally had 50 people at these events. So if you wanted to meet 12 people, if you wanted to meet more than the 12 people that you met,
you can do it
afterwards. And that's really what, like, once we narrowed down the format, then I automated all the creation of the event, inviting people to the calendar event, sending emails with the form, because they register on Hopin, but then we need to ask for more information. And for us to do that, we send a follow-up form. And all of this, because I automated it and sort of setting up an event took 20 minutes. And then I had a full month to focus on sort of what vibe are we creating? What message do we want to give? One big thing was like in the confirmation email, just giving them an idea of like what mindset they should have of coming. Like, you shouldn't expect this to be a recruiting event. You're not here to go through CVs and figure out who's going to be a co-founder. You should be open-minded and try to give feedback and see where the conversation takes you, and be willing to give before you receive and stuff like that. And like getting the mindset of the people before they come to the event, like setting the right expectations was very important. And then also acquisition and getting it sort of getting more people at the event. And this was what I was focusing on really when I left. So I didn't really get the chance to make it sort of really explode, unfortunately. But we were still, getting 40 people inside the event.
But
it was 50 euros each. So we were, making like 2,000 euros every month off a thing that took me, a couple hours a week to really focus on. And this was like a tiny part of my job. So overall, I think it was a nice success.
Yeah, you put that on autopilot. It's quite cool.
So all the repetitive sort of operations thing was automated, and I'll run you through it in a second. And then I could focus on creating the atmosphere, and that's really what I'm blown away when I see On Deck, and when I realize like me coming from a product background and all that, like I focused a lot on the operations and the setup. But you don't really need that much sort of technicality to it. You need to sort of create the right mood and get people, excited. And like at On Deck, one of the first things.
Yeah, about that, we can deep dive maybe into Hopin or into some tools to because Hopin. Just a word about the tool we talk about. I think everybody knows a little bit about this virtual event tool, and that allow you. There's a cool feature in it called, I don't know if it's the real name, the chat roulette. You can matchmake networking. Feature. Yeah, so a great feature. You can set up the time to meet automatically another attendee, and like this you can meet 15, like you say, 15, 20 people in 2 to 3 hours. It's a very powerful feature, and I will put that on the screen. So as you said, I've been made a major update. So
so I'm rediscovering this as I checked it out a bit before our call started, but yeah, forgive me if I get lost a little bit. So you can see like 42 tickets, like as I was saying, 2,000 euros per event or average, and 3.5 hours on average, the total event duration, and good retention. I mean, this is a 50 euro event, so people want to take their money's worth and stay. So we had really good attention and retention rates, which were lower when we had a lower price initially. So that's also a good thing, like for an event like this where the people and having enough people is a big part of the success of the event. Having a high price can also mean that you can sort of predict how many people were there, because we tried like a 20 euro price point, and we had 60 people. If 60% of 40 people don't show up, it's starting to be really tight to sort of get people to meet one-on-ones and have people straight away, like when they click on the button, it randomly matches them to someone quickly.
Mhm.
So yeah, you can see like 150 networking meetings, and this a lot more connections were made. It's just we didn't put a focus on this feature because there's a feature where you can say I want to connect to this person, and it will connect you via email. But it wasn't super reliable, so we were telling people, don't worry about that. We'll connect you via email afterwards. And yeah, and so
And what
really
is
like
your stack? Your stack. You use Hopin, but maybe use some other stuff to automate
yeah.
the whole thing.
So
Make Zapier.
yeah. Hopin is connected to our Zapier account, which I mean, this was like my savior when we started sort of moving every operation online. And so basically we have, I think they have a built-in connection now, but back then they didn't. So I was using webhooks. And so
Okay.
um, basically there's an incoming webhook when a ticket is purchased.
Okay.
Here, I don't know. It's oh yeah, it just takes the first name so you can put it in the email. It adds them to my Airtable that I will show you afterwards, where
Okay.
everyone is. It puts them in the Airtable when all the attendees are, and it
That's an email
then
via Gmail. Okay.
and then it sends an email. So this is the person who took over afterwards, and it just
Right.
sends them a quick email saying like, "Cool that you got your ticket." Let's see, maybe I can show it nicer. No, it doesn't show. But basically, it just says like, "Thank you for signing up. Here's the form that you should fill out to give us more information, some tips about what setup to use to attend the event, and how to join."
It was
And
with Zapier make that. You don't use
yeah,
the tool from Hopin, but you custom
I think they have
link.
an email tool now, but back then it was unusable.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, I mean, they went from 5 people to 200 in a year, so they've made really good progress on the product. But this was built maybe like 8 months ago, so back then I had to do sort of everything manually. And like, see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you should come with a pay forward mindset.
Yeah.
And don't think you're going to hire a CTO, CMO. This event's about meeting other doers, working together a little while, and letting to their sustainability take its course. Like these sentences, like they changed, the vibe of the event quite a lot because it sets the right
Okay.
expectation. And then yeah, some more sort of if you have any questions, you can reach out. And then it invited them to the event on Google Calendar, which also helps a lot. It's a little hack. Like
Yeah.
you can invite thousands of people to a Google Calendar event, have it straight into the calendar,
Yeah.
which is GDPR wise, I'm not sure, but it works. And then I mean they're buying tickets to your event, so
Yeah.
it should be great. And then this is just more of a bunch of other actions. Can't remember this one particularly. Oh yeah, this is just all because we ran a lot more events than this. We ran like at the height of it, we ran like 5 events on Hop in a week, and so like every single ticket goes here. It puts it in an Airtable, and then it runs sort of specific workflows for specific events.
Okay.
So this is just the
That
main
sends something
one.
in the Slack. Okay.
Yeah, it just like tells us that a ticket was bought for which event, and then it triggers specific workflows. Like this one will run first, and at the end it will see that it's Be My Cofounder ticket, and it will trigger this one. And then this one is just so that when we create a new event in this Airtable, it creates a new calendar event, and then it feeds back the idea of the calendar event, so it knows which event, which calendar event to invite attendees to.
Yeah.
And so all of this is run here. So really like this is just the number of editions. This is what triggers everything.
Wow,
And this
okay.
allows you to check the replies to the type forms and like reading out. Of course, I opened the one that has like no answers. But when you check, like people were we were asking like, how many people did you meet? Did you follow up? What's your overall experience? Can you sum it up in one sentence? We were trying out new features where like, if we actually connected you to certain people and organized follow-up meetings, would you pay more? And stuff like that. But we never found like, really like our main learning was keep it simple and straightforward, and otherwise you lose people with complexity quite fast. Um, and then we were giving them like sort of sentences that they could pick. And we started getting it was too short, then we tried a bit longer, and it was too long. So we thought like 3 hours and a half was the right sweet spot. And we were getting really good feedback.
I can see that.
And you can have you see that it's a co-founding event, but there are people coming multiple times. So this means like this is the editions that they attended. So this guy came 4 times. And then so we were sending them this little form where they could just tell us like, describe yourself in one sentence, the skills that you're good at, and where you're at in your entrepreneurial journey. And then it would create these little profiles automatically, and we would share this link with people, and so they could really check all the attendees that beforehand and afterwards, because we told them just take a piece of paper, write down the name of the person you're meeting and what you're feeling. Like, don't try to remember what they do. You don't need to focus on how you're feeling about this person. This is the important thing that you want to take away. And then after the event, you can go through the list of attendees, check with your notes, and figure out who you want to reach out to. And in these notes, you had a few lines about themselves, which skills, which industry, what they were working on right now, their profile. And that was enough, to create connections. And we actually had, I think, like, they're on the website, but we actually had like multiple teams that were created out of this event. So you can see during our events, and see like there's one running on April 22nd. I'll give you the shout out. But basically, we had like all these people met people. They've shortened it a lot, the landing page. But basically,
the great thing I can share with the side of the people who are no code addicts, but maybe community builders. It's knowing how to no code, and you have to study the no code movement, guys, because if you master it, like Lorenzo, it can save you a lot of times. And what you can see all these kind of applications, it's Airtable, Zapier. We talk about Typeform.
there was a bit of Typeform.
Little bit of Typeform. So
just for feedback,
for the feedback with a many beautiful display. So as a community builder, you have a lot of no-code applications. So basically, you don't have to code anything. You just have to master the application. So
it allows you to create sort of custom things without having to depend on someone else. These are quite easy to pick up. This is something we tried and we killed because it was taking too much time to set up and not enough people were taking it. But we created like a Notion page that actually acted like a website, and so you'd have these things sort of built in, and this is what I meant by the groups. Like, we were asking people what groups they wanted to work on. I would set them in groups, and then they would check what the name was, and then they would go into Hopin, and into Hopin we'd have different sessions, and they could move around the event. Here they're not here, of course, but they would have to check here and match the name in Hopin and go. Like, it was getting too complicated. But at least we tried, and like we knew it didn't work, and it was not too hard to set up.
Yeah, so it's very impressive. All you share with us, it's very impressive because so well articulated. So I think the no-code guys who are looking to us will appreciate that. And
so networking, like all the setup that you have to do is set the minimum and maximum time. They have a ticket matching, so you can say like, okay, I only want to match people who have a project with people who are looking for a project and all that. We tried combinations of things, but it never got the same sort of results as because it's hard also when you're selling tickets to make sure that you have enough people who have projects with enough people looking for projects, and all of this can cause a bad experience. So we just thought, all right, it's better to put 40 to 50 people and do it randomly. Worst case, you have two calls that are
Yeah, much
bad
better. Yeah.
out of the. But we actually like people didn't really complain about having bad calls. They didn't follow up with everyone. Like typically, people would of the 12 possible calls they would do, people on average would do 10 calls and follow up with 5 people.
Yeah.
But on a Saturday morning,
What?
when you can't meet new people, meeting 5 people that you can possibly build projects with, maybe even a
Yeah.
startup, is a good use of 50 euros, I think.
Well, yeah, completely. And you can hang out if you don't like the people in front of you. You can hang out. You can stop the conversation. So
Yeah, you could. Yeah. So like you have to wait for 10 minutes but people realize that if you reload the page, it would take you out of the conversation. So yeah, it's
yeah,
honestly like in terms of networking, like simple. I'm not telling you to just put people in a room and expect magic to happen. That's not what's going to happen. But we need very simple rules. For us, it was rock, paper, scissors. Take a pen and paper. Write down your feelings about the person, and worry about the details afterwards. That was really powerful. And
yeah.
we tried a ton of complicated things. None of them worked. But when we got the simple things right, then it was sort of easy.
Okay, so the best friends, the best tool friends for you for a community builder who want to build remote virtual events. It's what kind of tool you? Hopin is a good friend for you. Airtable, Notion. We talk about Notion. We
I
talk
think
about.
I think like event tools are very much sort of in terms of features getting very similar. You have some like I saw that Gather Town raised a big round recently, and that looks very cool and unique because you designed a sort of virtual space. You've invited me onto events that use other things.
Como
There's some
space.
that's
Yeah.
Como space that stand out a little bit. But generally, like tools like Hopin, like Bevy, like I think this one is Welcome. Tools like that, they're all pretty much the same. We use Hopin because we started doing online events very early. We actually had plans to work with Hopin before COVID happened. So I actually had negotiated like a year of a free account. And for people who have tried to get a Hopin account, that was super lucky because immediately they went up to 15,000 to try to jack up the prices when everyone was rushing, and also because they didn't have a lot of funding or anything back then. And so we had this Hopin account. I think today, like you could use any platform and make it work. But yeah, in terms of organization, like Airtable, I really like, but you can do with Google Sheets. I've also organized events on Google Sheets for. I've done it for other people who didn't know Airtable and were just used to using Excel or Google Sheets, and that works super well too. And Zapier. I mean, Zapier is sort of the backbone of the no-code world. So once you know how to use Zapier well, then you can pretty much interchange any other tool and make it work. Notion was more to build a front end, but that didn't work. But I think it can be useful to like write documentation and explain to people like what your community is about and link them to the right page. You send one link and then they can navigate inside the page, and it's basically like a mini website. And I think that's
it's a lot of things. It's a lot of tools. Okay, thanks so much, Lorenzo, to share with us.
No, pleasure.
Tools, tricks, tips. Hope you guys you learn a lot of stuff about that. Thanks again,
Yes.
and yes,
someone who you think should try to find a co-founder and kick something off. I mean, I still think it's a great event.
The next one, it's
I see they've updated the date. It used to be. No, sorry, it's not this. It used to be the branding, and now I see they've updated it to.
Yes,
they changed the branding a lot. Okay, I see what they did. They did like couples because okay, cool. Yeah, no, it's quite cool. So yeah, April. I think the next one is April 22nd. If you know someone, if you yourself are wondering like, should I try to build something, just come here, meet people, and you might either be
definitely
inspired
great
to
event.
join something, or you can test out your idea. It's also a good use case, like just pitch your idea and see how people react and if people want to work with you. Because convincing
Yeah.
people to work with you is like step one. Then you get to
Yeah.
start building.
Yeah. I used to make two of them, and it was very great moment. And I never lose time. So just deep dive into this so rare remote networking event. Okay. So thanks everyone, and see you on the
Thanks,
next
Alex.
episode of Air Party. See you guys.
Yep.